It's time for the Access of Easy podcast, the weekly technology digest that keeps you ahead of the curve. Brought to you by EasyDNS.com.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Access of Easy. This is number 298. My name is Joey, here with the other Canadian Bitcoiner, Len. Buddy, how's it going? What's up over there?
Yeah, just cold. Other than that, all right. How about you, brother?
I just told you I had all my credit cards, ID stolen out of my car overnight. So I've had a busy day, as you know, in addition to my day job. So, you know, all that said, Len, it's good. This is going to be a cathartic experience here. You and I talking about all the latest and greatest in data breaching and overreaching. Before we get into it, this is the audio compendium to the Access of Easy weekly briefing. You should sign up for the text version. It has all the links, all the stuff we talk about. Sometimes I mention diagrams that go over my head. They're all there too. You can sign up at accessofeasy.com. Just leave your email. That's all it takes. Pretty simple. Last week's quote of the week, Len. Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to pause and reflect. That was by Mark Twain, famous guy, of course. It was Jeremy who won last week's quote contest. I'm not going to give his last name. Well done, Jeremy. Len, this week's quote, okay? I'm not going to do any Bachman-Turner overdrive nonsense to start here, but in individuals, insanity is rare, but in groups, parties, nations, and epochs, it is the rule. I love that quote. That's a really good quote. It applies, I think, today more than most times. So the rules, as always, if you know the answer, you can just put it in the comments. You get your next domain or hosting renewal on EasyDNS, but you can't Google it. No searching, no Googling, no ChatGPT, which, by the way, Len, makes another appearance this week in the newsletter. Unbelievable. Every week we talk about this.
Yeah, you know, we just call this the Let's Make Fun of ChatGPT
Access
show
to GPT show.
Really, like it's just they're giving material away for free. So
I love
whatever.
it. I love it.
Let's just rock and roll. And we can start off with not ChatGPT, but YouTube. Gotta love this company. So much promise, but even more disappointment. And this is, I took a peek, the second most visited website. And this could be testing, or they could be testing out something that could potentially piss off a bunch of viewers or users. At first reported as on the YouTube subreddit, YouTube is preventing some users from viewing videos if they are using an ad blocker on their computer. And this Reddit user posted a screenshot, and it shows that YouTube is providing two different options. The first is to allow the YouTube ads, so essentially getting around the ad blocker. And the second option is to purchase YouTube Premium. And for those who are unaware, YouTube Premium, it's a monthly service that you have to pay for, and it disables the ads that you get for watching videos, and it gives you other few goodies, but it's not applicable really to this story. And not all users running ad blocks may experiencing this type of problem or the roadblocks that they're presenting the users. YouTube has confirmed that they are experimenting with something they are running globally. And notably, they're trying to push people to start using YouTube Premium. So they have started rolling out longer ads and also ads that are unskippable. And even I, Joey, have to admit that this strategy worked with me. It brought me to the breaking point where even I got the YouTube Premium. I got it several months ago. In fact, it's a family plan. My wife had it, so we just added my name to it, and we were able to get it. So
dude, you cut your own hair. You're paying for YouTube Premium?
I watch so much YouTube that I have to. I did.
Oh my God.
I did the math. Yeah, if you do the math and you figure how much time you're wasting for the ads to pass by, it's worth your while to actually just buy a premium, especially if it's with a family package. But really, with respect to this story, with little competition out there, Rumble, Odyssey, you know, for the long formats, and it's easy to see that how the strategy works, but it could piss off a lot of people out there as they continually do this, because people might just find alternate sites that they can watch their videos. So I'm not sure exactly to see if this is going to pan out well for YouTube. I think it will, because there's not too many competition out there for them. So good for them. This is a good strategy for them in terms of increasing their pocketbook, but it's going to piss off users at the same time. So they will be ready to jump ship once the ability is there.
Interesting. Okay, so a couple things here. I'm going to go on a bit of a deep dive, and there's going to be some conspiracy here, so prepare yourself. You mentioned there that there's not a lot of alternatives to YouTube. That is correct at the moment. We post the Canadian Bitcoiner stuff to Rumble, and I have the Rumble app on my phone. It's pretty good. But the thing I noticed right away is that close in quality, sometimes the same stuff, much like we post across platforms. A lot of other people that I listen to and watch post across platforms as well. The first thing I noticed, Len, is that Rumble lets you play from when the app is closed on your phone, which YouTube Premium adds or touts as a feature. So that's number one. Thinking back to the number of times that stuff like Parler, Rumble, Odyssey, all these things were qualified or were attempted to be qualified as like white supremacist platforms or ism platforms, whatever your ism of choice is or the ism of the day was at the time. The more I think about this, the more I think YouTube was the culprit of all those campaigns, because it seems to me like no matter how hard they try to push people into premium, they can't do it. They just cannot do it. Now they're ad blocking, presumably plugins on their own Chrome browser, right? Or Chromium browsers. This is like a desperation move. This is inviting competition. And I think that Rumble, although it has its problems, like you and I obviously sort of tango with that thing every week with the live streams and stuff like that. It's pretty good. I would say it's pretty good. You and me are not experts at this stuff, but we figured it out pretty quick. There's a lot of eyes on that platform. I think about our views. I don't want to talk, exclusively about the Canadian Bitcoiners channel on the Access Visa here, but it's a good point of reference, right? There's a lot of eyes on that platform that weren't there a year ago. And I think that as more people, dance with this idea about paying YouTube 15 or 20 bucks a month, whatever it is, why would I do it? YouTube at the moment is censoring content that they don't like or disagree with, is pushing content based on the requests of governments around the world. I don't want that. They're charging me to not have ads. And we had a story a little while ago. It wasn't a story, actually. I mentioned, I think, on this show that Google on its quarterly call designates or makes a delineation between the screens that each person is watching on. And they mentioned that the living room screen is growing in popularity. It's become their most popular in some styles of video, some lengths of video. And to your point about the unskippable ads, you're right. I can't skip anything when I watch in my living room. When I watch on my phone, it's 5 or 6 seconds. When I watch on my computer, it's 5 or 6 seconds. But in my living room, I can't do it. Most of the time, I get a full 30-second unskippable ad, which, by the way, is never for something that I need. It's always for a car or like, I think because of the Bitcoin stuff, maybe I get like remittance services, but it's never for something I need. The ads are no good, even though they're unskippable. They're worthless to me. And so this is another problem I think YouTube is having, and I think advertisers are having more broadly as well. I just would also add that, no pun intended, I think that online advertising is becoming less effective overall. And YouTube realizes this. And I think they're trying to get in front of the potential that their ads are just not going to keep coming. People are not going to keep paying for YouTube ads at the clip they're paying for them now. And I think that's coming to an end too. So very interesting stuff here, man. YouTube is a bellwether product, one of Google's biggest and best acquisitions over the years, of course, maybe the best acquisition of any company ever. And this is interesting stuff. You're seeing maybe directional shifts here in what's coming in video sharing. I'm interested in seeing what comes next.
Yeah, so YouTube, they are paying less to creators in the past 6 months or so. And this is as a result of the economy slowing down. So yes, you're correct. So advertising dollars is kind of drying up. But I just wanted to double back to, if you consider getting YouTube Premium, just do the math, how much time you're wasting for each one of those 30-second ads. And if you do the math and you realize whatever it costs you per month, it might be worth your while in the end, because time is precious, and it's just a few bucks. And I know it sucks to say, but there's a lot of nickel and diming going on out there, but it's honestly unbelievable from a guy who literally the other night on the show talked about cutting his own hair. Now he's talking about I don't know. I do a lot of things. I change my tires myself, my oil. Yeah, I do just about everything all by myself. Just a few things, I could just do the math, and I realize that time is much more precious, and I could get further ahead by doing that. But noted. Anyways, let's move on. We can't go a week without talking about Meta, and the same with ChatGPT. So this is a story that combines them both. And with this story here, to Meta's credit, it has reported that they found over 1,000 unique ChatGPT themed malicious web addresses. And this is the same stuff we talked about in a previous episode of Axis of Easy. I think it was last week we talked about it. And in this one, there's an advertisement that when users click it, gives the users the ability to download a program which dupes users into thinking they're getting something along the lines of a version of ChatGPT, which, by the way, released an iOS version today, from what I understand.
I saw that.
In fact, they're not downloading what they think it is with respect to this. They're downloading, I'm not talking the iOS, I'm talking about the meta version. They're downloading looks like a malware. That's what's being reported. And this is the theme of the day. And people will click on just about anything related to ChatGPT, including downloading an extension for their browser, which people are doing. And this steals information like account information, two-factor identification codes, and more. Think about a lot of stuff that people store on the autofill on the browsers. That's what this thing is stealing from people. The vetting process at Facebook, we talked about it previously. It needs to be improved. I'm sure they get a lot of requests for proceeding with ad promotions from vendors or individuals, but remember, they're a billion-dollar company, multi-billion-dollar company, at least for now, and we'll see what happens in the next little while. They should be able to assign people required to end this type of garbage. They should be able to have the resources available. It's too bad this continually gets reported. To their credit, they've found it, but is it really to their credit if it existed on their platform? I don't know. Really, in the end, they have to do much, much better at protecting the end users, but don't even use Facebook. That's another thing. It's a terrible platform.
Two things. One, never download anything that's claiming to be a program like OpenAI's ChatGPT. You do a little bit of research and find that there's no such thing available to you. Second thing, Len, tie into the first story. If ad revenue is important to your bottom line, you will make that filter wider and let anything you can through. You're seeing this on Meta with these kinds of scams, and I'm sure there's other scams that don't make it into the newsletter, but on Reddit, at least once a day, I see a scam from like an Elon Musk tweet that says everyone should be clicking this tweet on Reddit. Like the fact of the matter is advertising dollars are becoming more scarce, and they are the only thing keeping a company like Meta afloat. Google has other revenue producing products. What does Meta have?
No, Google is 85% revenue driven. Advertisement driven.
I know, but it has other, like, okay, so
that's a massive slice of the pie.
What I'm more saying is people have to use the Google search engine, right? Mm-hmm. They have to use it.
They
have to use YouTube. Exactly. But what is Meta bringing to the table, right? As soon as it becomes too dubious to use that platform because of ads, because of scams, because of whatever, people will just leave. And so like there's an equilibrium there somewhere that Meta, I think, is getting close to. And I don't know. I saw someone online today saying that Meta is close to $270 a share again.
I didn't even pay attention. I'm not following
absolutely
their stock
insane.
price.
Absolutely insane.
But Instagram is really their big. Instagram and WhatsApp seems to be the big drivers these days, right? Isn't that what's driving people? So, and I use
it's IG.
Yeah. There you go. So let's move on. And man, we can't go a week without talking Meta or Facebook 2 times in a week. And here we go again. This is another Meta story to bring people to attention. So shareholders of Meta, which probably are happy that it's now reached $270 a share. Well, some of them were bringing
246,
whatever it is. Like, they're probably ecstatic because given where they were recently, but they're not ecstatic about this one because they're taking the company to court and allegations that officers and directors are not doing their job that they should be doing to protect users' data. And the complaint stems from the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, 2012 order, which I believe we may have talked about it in a previous show. And that order outlined that Meta would be stopping the process and the practice of collecting data and sharing that information without consent with friends on Facebook. But it goes even further. Not only are they sharing it with their friends on Facebook, they are also selling it off to commercial partners. Information about us, it's a currency. Companies like Meta will continue to monetize it. That's their MO, and that's what pads their pocketbooks. So everybody has to be very aware whatever they're putting online is potentially going to be used for the company for profit means. So be very careful what it is you put online because it is theirs and it's their information to do what they want. They could sell it, and it's too bad, but looks like people are taking them to court. I'm curious to see what happens with this court case. And maybe a wrist slapping, it could be something worse.
There's a lot of stuff that goes on Facebook's platforms, Meta, Instagram, specifically Instagram, in the example on both the site, where they use your behavior to draw you into the platform in ways that are not immediately obvious to you. Of course, they target ads to you or try to. Who knows how well that's going. We talked about that already today, and we've talked about it other times. But the one I'm going to bring up here, okay, this is interesting for a guy my age. I'm 35. I can see this is half speculation, but I'll tell you, I've heard this from someone close enough to the spigot for this to be reliable information as well. If you go on Instagram and look up the people you may know section, it'll give you three kinds of people. It'll give you people who you're often in the same geography as. So if you go to the mall all the time or go to the gym all the time and this person has their phone and you have your phone, it'll give you that person to look at. That's one. It'll give you people who you have a lot of common connections with, friends, or if you're liking the same photos, things like that. That's another one. But the third one is interesting. And it kind of is in the same vein as this, right? That the information that's not supposed to be shared, but is being shared sort of indirectly. It'll be people who are searching for you or going to your profile to look at your pictures. And to me, that's dangerous because I think about, jilted lovers or ex-flames, or maybe you got a crazy neighbor, who knows, right? If you go to that page and see someone who's not immediately obvious to you, the assumption you should make is that person is looking at your profile, which is very weird. Facebook shouldn't be telling you that because there's no real indication anywhere in the literature that they're telling you that kind of stuff or giving away that kind of information. You know what I mean? User behavior is meant for ad targeting and maybe other product marketing, but this idea that you can pretty easily deduce who's looking at your page just by looking at who Facebook recommends you add as a friend or who Instagram recommends you add as a friend, very strange. I'm a little disappointed to see that they've dismissed the shareholder suit over user data privacy breaches. If this is not a data privacy breach, I'm unclear on what would be. I think the end of the day, similar to the last story, why are you still using Facebook products? You don't need Instagram. We have it for the other show. I have it because I'm guilty of wanting to look at meme videos, but like you don't need it. It's a garbage sort of waste of time, right? And this is what they do with your information. They share it, they use it, they abuse it. And another instance here, man. It's what do we say all the time? It's disappointing, but not surprising.
They denied a motion to dismiss the lawsuit. So
refuses to dismiss judge. Oh,
yeah.
Perfect.
So it's going to
go. My goodness,
it's going to go ahead to court, and it's going to get litigation is going to proceed.
Okay.
So this is really good news. But one thing you've talked about in your example there, I wasn't aware, and I'm surprised. Like this isn't causing more concern. It's getting information about your location. So you said wherever you go, it's kind of figuring out.
Of course, iPhones do a good job walling off certain apps from getting that information, but I'm sure there's still ways they can do it, Len, because after I go to Home Depot, I get Home Depot ads. If I go to the mall, I get, mall ads. Like everyone has heard these stories about people talking about cat food, even though they have no cats. And then for 2 weeks you get cat food ads, right? Like there's something going on there. What is it? The nature of the Pandora's box? I don't know, but clearly, okay, we are not the only ones seeing these problems. There's significant problems with what's going on Facebook as far as data sharing, and it's got to stop. It's ridiculous.
No, let's move on, and we could talk about a British national by the name of Joseph James O'Connor.
Great
and
name.
He would have been better off just remaining as a normie, or being a normie, I guess, and just resigning himself to watching the coronation of some royal dude the past couple of weeks, because Buddy here was involved with cyber crimes, and something which he has confessed to, including the charges of stalking, extortion, and swatting. All three of them are pretty serious. And one of his targets over the last 3 years, it's one Mr. Elon Musk. And apparently he took over Elon's Twitter account. This was before Elon's purchase of Twitter. Imagine if this was after the fact. Heads would have rolled internally and externally. As well, there was other high-profile Twitter users that had their account frauded in such a way that they took control of it and defrauded victims. And how many times have we seen tweet from fake Elon saying, send him 1 Bitcoin, he'll send you 2 back in return? Doing that message though from the real McCoy, from the real Elon account, must have netted him something. At least I thought it did, because this guy was a busy guy. A total of 130 Twitter accounts were hacked, including President or former President Barack Obama, Kanye West. And sadly, I thought it would have a fortune. Only $100,000 in Bitcoin was he able to accumulate through all these Bitcoin scams by taking control of these accounts. Man, what a tool! He should have gotten more. That's just my 2 cents. But he didn't just end this on Twitter. He was doing some behind the scenes stuff for SIM swap attacks that netted him access to several TikTok accounts as well, the high profile TikTok accounts. So not only was the CCP stealing people's information, O'Connor was also doing the same thing. So this is another reason why two-factor authentication, you should do a proper one at that. Doing this SMS one, it's obviously SIM swap is a way to get around the SMS two-factor authentication. Use something more secure. OpenATP, I believe, is the one that I use. And just go along those lines. Learn better privacy habits, practice them, and you'll sleep better at night. And don't give Elon one of your Bitcoin. He won't send you back 2.
No one ever sends back 2, number one. And number 2, I really have nothing else to add. 2FA is important. If you're not using 2FA, why not? It's really not that hard. An authenticator app, if you don't want to use open source or think it's not trustworthy, Google and Microsoft both have very reputable ones as well. There's options, man. You don't want to expose yourself to SIM swapping, or even worse, which another thing we've talked about on this program, like the social engineering of kind of a, retail burnt out call center worker who's responsible for taking questions about why your bill is so high, right? You don't want to outsource your security to these sorts of people. And it's not necessarily their fault, but you have a role to play in that. And I think the role here is 2FA. So yeah, stop delaying, sign up for it, get going on that.
Right. Imagine social engineering. You could social engineer against ChatGPT to figure out certain things. These frontline workers have no chance. Absolutely no chance.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on. Hackers, they have been targeting Twitter, and they have done so. They leaked out tons of information. Some 200 million Twitter accounts is the reported number that has been stolen. And this information includes personal data, such as email addresses, phone numbers, and account handles. So you're linking all 3 of those. You could really profile just about anybody you want. Cybersecurity intelligence company Hudson Rock, what a great name. They are trying to alert people that may be on the radar that their account may have been doxxed or hacked. And as a result, they might be having some of their information. Well, somebody is going to use that information against you. And strangely enough, even though this was reported, 200 million users' accounts may have been hacked, Twitter, they're not releasing any information about this. The statement from Twitter is kind of, well, it's not coming forth for whatever reason. The genesis of this data theft is a flaw in a Twitter API, and the flaw enabled hackers to do some work to link up Twitter handles, registered email addresses, and phone numbers. They then were able to use that information, compile a database by linking all 3 together, and voila, you now have this massive database that it just shows you the Twitter handle, matches up to the telephone number, matches up to the email address. It's pretty sad stuff. But good news is the flawed API was fixed and closed off as of January 2022. So if you are a user that started after that date, you're probably safe with respect to this API flaw. Any other ones? Who the hell knows?
Twitter locked all its application programming interfaces, the third-party APIs, I think earlier this year or late last year. Heavy hitters like Tweetbot, for example, completely locked out. The app just doesn't work anymore. I wonder how much of that is the result of them starting to find flaws in the API that were exploitable, and maybe they missed one here. I'd be curious, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to me for Twitter to not try and monetize the third-party APIs. For a guy who's selling blue check marks that lets you upload like 8 gigabyte videos, as if anyone's doing that on Twitter, like, it's ridiculous. It seems to me like they'd be better off monetizing those third-party platforms if people want to use them, or just straight up taking the features and then locking them out, right? But they didn't really do either. And I wonder if it's because they had problems with the API they didn't want to share. Very telling there's not been a statement. I'll say that. This guy, Elon, is on Twitter literally all day, every day, unless he's trashing, major investors in the media. But otherwise, yeah, very interesting stuff. Twitter, it's a weird thing, isn't it? Like you have been promoting Nostr since it came out. I don't use it that much. I like Twitter better for the moment. And I more and more, I think that this is like a sort of make or break moment for the platform coming up this year, in the next couple of quarters, both from a revenue side and from a user, a usability side, I think. What do you make of that?
I think on the revenue side, it really doesn't matter because Elon has really deep pockets. So he can weather the storm if there's some bad quarters over there. In terms of usability, people tend to flock to the easiest thing, and they don't care much about their privacy or anything along those lines. So a story like this, people don't really care too much. And not only that, wasn't there some story recently that the government may have had access to everything, including DMs from people?
They did. They had it all. Yeah.
Yeah. And still people, they're flocking to Twitter with no problems whatsoever. And then still giving out information through DMs that's probably very sensitive information. And now Elon has access to it, and who knows? But since it's an American company, it could be somehow captured by the government,
subpoenaed or something.
Yeah. So it's whatever. Maybe they got a jurisdiction shops for somewhere that's more secure for them. Who the heck knows? But
I don't know.
Interesting stuff.
That's the last story for number 298, Len. Great job. Good job by you. And
yeah, you too.
Everyone else. Hey, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. A couple of Canadians just trading comments there back and forth. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, the newsletter itself, accessvz.com. We'll see you next week. Take care, everyone.
Yeah, take care.